What are 3 line signature passes in set line conditions of a path that we surface location settings? Three communications of data. What's the most powerful thing that we have to understand to set lengths to anything calculations? Coexisting, identification, and purpose. These 3 are calculated and modified how you take 3 lines of 2, which is 5 set location of elements. You take the 5 line setting line interference. You are the center of you. But if you're not in line inside line conditionalized system, you won't understand anything. So it doesn't matter. It won't matter because you're not in line inside through your elements of your grounds, of your waters, of your airs, your fires, and your plasma. So you have to learn how to travel through your chakra settings, right? It's very simple. Simplification is line connection, low levels of high interference and high calculation line settings, and how to use the elements of you in space through time. Traveling through space and time, not time through space. Space and time. Changing directions, how you adapt the line setting of thinking, of knowledge and calculations to its stream is really recognizing what you're saying through its acceleration and deceleration. Acceleration, decelerate. Running a path, okay? Or misdirection. Miscalculated, mismodified. Miss. Realign, readjust, refocus, reconnect, right? So we all have to understand, what does it mean through its coexistence? First, like, if I coexist and I understand my identity, I know who I am because I'm given a name. I have a name. Whoa, I know who I am. So now I know why I exist. But the reason is, what is the purpose to live? What is this purpose to be alive? Is to understand you inside. Whoa! Multipass. Understand you inside in all line communications to the grounds, to the lines of powers, and the atmosphere line setting and travel. Travel inside, not outside. Mechanism line settings and inside line communication. Everything is in space and time inside locations of you. So you got to find a way to set your communication up its alignment. So once you exist and your identity and calculation identification, now you understand your purpose, then you understand, wow, now I understand the position location of why I'm here. It's because of the how everything operates in a cell location system. So now you're aligned inside line condition. Now you understand your body frames. Now you understand your electrical lights, electrical panels, electrical interference, electrical location system, electrical cycles, high calculus modification, doing anything, position location, or I should say location system. In that track communication settings, because now you're doing it from inside connection system, everything around you is going to be aligned. Okay. So in that communication interference, what are you getting in balance with when you see things? It's seeing you for the first time. So you don't bounce these things out. They've got to find balance within inside you. Ooh, that's a big one. Get in a line communication line interference. Put your thought communication line interference on track line communication and setting through collaboration. Try to process that, what that means. Right? That's a whole understanding, is to get in alignments of balance inside your system. Your earth is inside, not outside. So now we can get back to where we are. We got a center communication of balance. We understand our elements. 5 within track line calculation streamline, setting communication line center. 6 in position, and 7 within bodies of water. Whoa, 7 bodies of water with 5 within atmosphere. There's my DNA right there. So you actually become the earth line. You're aligned inside. Now everything around you is aligned. The whole process is to keep it in balance every single day through emotional content, right? Emotional content is very powerful in set-line communication system. Has a flow recognition of timeline, time sequence. It's a calculation modify how you use your alphabetical line setting in calculation to anything through modulation. Modification, all levels of set lines, psychological, psychosocial location with settings. So we're coming into all calculations, how to reframe your lines of communications of code activation line setting. Really understand voice grid set, how to communicate to its setting from inside line condition system, because your voice is saying one thing and your brain is saying another, right? So the brain understands the difference. Congratulations, welcome back. So in that position locations, you're already in setting. You're balanced in set location system. All you got to do is balance your emotional setting to your vibration, to your frequencies, your energies, and your harmonics. So it's about you understanding the balance of everything that's inside you, mastering all communication settings. And then once you get that in communications, everything comes balanced from outside connections, right? Anything you do inside changes outside. Anything inside changes outside. Anything inside changes outside. 3-time line interference. Now, in that track line comes interface position locations. All levels of energy is relationship and partnership. Friendship, relationship, and partnership is collaboration to its AI, which is a process of all calculation in specifics. Being specific in detail of what you want through intention, right? Setting calculations to an example. Line streams, high interference or high calculation setting. Now you guys are coming in line interference of Pluto. Set that communication security line rotation system. But before we get started in calculations, because you're coming to 102 and a 52 track line conditions on line position over pi. Line and signature line interference, set position locations. Let's go into cat. Okay, cat. All right, so let's go in this line setting. Cat, right? Now, is this in pronunciation? Setting calculation of vowels, right? A is a vowel, right? T is off center, and C is in communication, right? Now, you try to understand there is a separation here, right? The correlation panel is calculated of cat, which is position of track line. So cat is one line equal line condition system of AT that's waiting on signal and set location, right? So AT is offline, it's off calculating, it's not traveling. The set of communications understand how to go out of line sync with your set locations into its box. Come out of the box and look in. So in that set line interference, C is cat. It's not line condition system. It's cat. It means cat because it's breaking down 3 line settings, right? So you're breaking down C, which is cat. Now you got the AT because right now it's dubbed. It's connection on all levels. It's ad lib, which means it has a falsity set lines, a high interference location, anagram line, or rotation position, alphabetical line connection system that's not connected to psychosis location. It's like logically a high calculation system into its frame set location. Now, in that identification line setting, recognizing the communication of its phenomenon, of its position, of its direct location system, everything is in mobilization of communication, right? So what do you want to do with locations of all levels of C? C represents cat. So one C line center is cat, and you can change it to frame if you want, but you have to understand first what you're doing through your abundance of manifestation. This is how it comes in a coordinate location settings to its coordinates. Line calculation, the line interference of its location system that identifies its set lines of its coexistence, of its identification, and its purpose. Why does cat have a purpose? Why does it coexist? And what is its identification? What do you want to do through cat? So once you understand that C is cat, what is AT? Because AT is out of its equation. It's not in position of travel yet. You understand? All right. So in that track communication system, we come back in cat line. So cat is line conditions of one letter. Cat equals one letter. Take the one line, C-A-T, right? So this is it here, C. It's cat. What's AT stand for? Because it sets lines in low division, right? Set locations, right? It doesn't have any representation of anything through set locations, right? It doesn't have a word sentence line communication system. It doesn't have an anagram line interference position of patterns. It doesn't have rotation spin cycle location center. It doesn't have a surface location position of an operation line condition line system. Center communication line interference is to understand how to set communications of cat. So in set line conditions, cat is C. What is AT? atmosphering teleportation. So the CAT is atmosphering teleportation, right? So you got that communication, bracket line, center line conditions equal lines of pi. Pi equals line conditions of CAT. Hooah! Travel communication line interference. Now you understand the intention, the will, the force, the coexistence, the identification of its purpose. Now you got to get into frame through its mission and its journey. What do you want to do through the CAT of its atmosphering, of its teleportation? That's how you guys got to get in line communication in your line settings. Mind adaptation of its atmosphere to its position locations, to its calculation line interference of travel recognition of its coexistence. Because what you're doing is you're setting up missions and journeys through a CAT setting. Pi equals CAT. Now it's in position of balance, right? It's got a central communication setting and 3 set location, a pi, right? Multipass, right? So now you understand the importance of what it is, how powerful letters, numbers, and symbols are and shapes. They have to have coexistence, identification, and purpose. Because if you exist, so does everything else. But it's the why. And the why becomes the how. Okay? All right. Let's see. Tracking set lines and high interference. Tina, calculation Heather, line interference Andy, Gypsy communications setting, high calculations Amy line into Chris communications system, Prismore line can center, David line can install walls, Johnny, Hendall, calculations David. It's great to see all you guys. So I just want to show you how powerful it is when you understand how to get in collaboration to everything around you. But you got to be a balanced inside line, setting line, and center location system inside of you first. Because if you're not balanced inside, everything outside doesn't matter. Right? So if you don't exist inside, nothing exists outside. Whoa! Welcome back, team. All right. So now we understand how this all works, right? When you come to all calculation settings. So we got the calculations of its will, in calculations to its force, in position of its calculation settings, to its co-creation, to its location, right? So in that communication line interference, we change the CAT line, calculation line interference equals line conditions of pi equals locations of CAT. Recognize its system locations, right? So now we understand what that is. But if I want to change the frame, it's now communication to its atom, to its telewaving, right? That's what CAT represents, to the brain setting. So in calculation line interference, we separate the communication system. We break it down into signal location patterns, right? So that's how you change CAT into communication into its atom to its teleportation, or anything telecommunication or telegraphing, right? So it's about expanding or staying on CAT, right? Or changing the frame. But you have to really understand how to set communication to its pi line setting and rotation surface inside location system. It tracks its line set locations in its high setting. Okay, so I really want you to understand how to change your frame lines in all of the calculations to your settings when you come into anagram or space anomaly or anything through keyboard or key lock or key frame. You have to recognize all communication settings when you come into positions, right? So let's say, again, we'll go through shop. Okay, shop. Right? Let's go through shopping. Okay, you're shopping, right? What are you shopping? Well, anything in calculations, but you have to understand inline calculation system. Shopping is calculations of S. S stands for shopping. Okay, what about hopping? So S is line communication of balance. Hopping is off signal. It's not in this equation, which means it doesn't exist because it has a frame line standard location of a phrase that sets locations of fade. It doesn't coexist. It doesn't have identification. It doesn't have a purpose, and it doesn't understand what it's doing through division of travel. Okay? It has to coexist. It has to have identification, and it has to have a purpose of what it's here. It's intelligence. It's phenomenon. It's a word. It's a frame. It's a story. It's a life. It's a projection to your calculations. Abundance, manifestation. All right. So now we know what S stands for. Well, let's get in line communication, break it down, line interference. SHOPPING. Right, break it down. So we got the hemisync, operation to perception locations, all levels, perceiving line interference, intelligent line conditions, all levels, new line center location of grounds. Now we know what shopping means. Right? That's the interpretation location setting. Code frequency patterns, fragmentation lines, deceleration, line calculation, and acceleration. Setting communication line settings opens all communication to its line center, interference, location, and shopping. So that is calculate and modify because shopping now has a name. It coexists and its purpose. The only thing left is position of its mission and its journey and its destination. Multi-pass. Okay? Setting calculation. All right, so let's go down to the line interference and one line communication of 2. 102, track line, center line interference, equal line condition system, pi and recognition. Okay. So once you get the one line setting on 0 line, one line sets locations into 3 pi line settings, okay, because we're tracking communication higher levels of travels. So 3 lines of pi sets lines position of 24 and position of 48, line condition 72 into 144 track location. Now that center lines is communication setting. So we set line communication setting interference, comes in communication settings into Pluto. Pluto sets line calculation. Pluto line interference, now we line communication settings. Site security perimeter line interference, that's the lines of communication, low signal location settings. Coordinate line interference is 27,000 light years away. Mercury line in rotation, there's Mercury, balanced communication line stream. Right? There's Mercury, and there's line condition of Pluto. So calculation modification lines needs energy, light communication track line, high interference location line system. So we have the sun line communication coming in, line rotation surface location system. Center lines is calculation. Moon lines, cross lines, string lines is dimensional sail. So that's line communication. See the dimensional sail, rotation surface location? You see it? Now, the central line communication sets lines of 1, operation of 2, security position location of perimeters. Line calculation lines. This puts position locations into high setting. Track line calculation setting and line position location. Get the team in position location of Pluto, line interference location at all levels. Mercury location of Mercury, line interference location high setting. Track communication of their sun. Line communication in the fluctuation line connection high system location of the moon. Rotation surface line condition of 6 over line position over pi. 3 line settings, 6 line position over 7 over 8 over 9 over 10 over 11 over 12. 12 DNA track line rotation surface, get them in calculation line interference, get them in position of track line communication setting. 102 track line communications in parameters line out calculation line in position. Open all signals, open all panels, line rotation surface. Put the position of track lines in high calculation setting. Cosmic universe line stream set line in high system. Set its security, panel line rotation position. Tweak the wires, calculation line interference. Glaze line, center line location, the back door. Rest of time sequence. Coming to the firewalls. New panel line rotation surface. Calculate line interference, attract communication system. Collaboration line calculation system. 1 over line setting, 0 operation center location of 2. 2 in security, perimeter line interference. So the sets line communication 2, 2, 2, 2. Track line communication. Low casing line centers of 2 line center location, 2 line rotations, 2 securities. Perimeter line interference location of 36 lines of fields. Rotation server location, fluctuation line calculation setting, influx fast communication system. That way equation. Hooah. Right? So that's how you set up line communications. Now, if you take the one line in 0 into position of 2, sets lines of 52 line setting line track. We take the 2 line and 2 line rotation, right? So 2 lines track line interference, 2 line interference line conditions all levels of pi, rectal line calculation, collaboration of communications in position location of pyramid, and 4 central line communication settings. That's my equation. All right, so the pyramid line center set all communications. Now we come into position. All levels of Pluto, center line communications, travels line setting in set locations into alpha line channel. Rest of timeline sequence. Now position locations coming to Jupiter. Jupiter cross line signals. Opens up signal locations into 2 line waving cycles and set locations. Now the channel line interference comes into Mercury. Mercury sets line communications and program location, electrical lines, electrical panel line condition, batteries, positive, negative, positive line interference. Pluto communication triangulation of 3 set line calculation triangulation. That my equation. All right, the formation lines of balance is recognizing communications in all levels of forms. Why do you think I'm setting line communication of balanced communication? Because I do everything through coexist. If I coexist, everything else does. And then you understand the existence of purpose of identification. Multi-pass. Okay? So in line connections, you have to really understand how to set up one. right? That's 1, right? 1 equals line condition of GOD, reference height, center line interference. So 1 is traveling locations of 1. 1 is traveling locations of 1. 1 is traveling location of 1, 1, 1, 1 set locations. 1 line setting, 1 position, all calculations of 3 line setting rotations, line communication, line condition, line center. Negative or positive line conditions back into 1. 1 line 0 location of 0. 0 equals locations back into 1. 1 travels line locations. 1 equals line condition of 5. 5 lines are location of 6 and line condition. 6 equal line conditions of negative or positive, 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 positive. 3 track line communication, interline conditions levels. High center lines is communication operation, signal line interference, sets position locations back into 1. 1 line back and line rotations back into 1, 1, 1, 1. Center communication line interference, travel communication system, travel line center location of 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11, 12 location system, back and track line conditions. All through 1. See what I did? I traveled through all through 1. Because I understand the energy, I understand the formation, I understand the intelligence, I understand the collaboration, I understand its awareness, I understand its interface, I understand its intelligence, I understand its coexistence, I understand its identification, I understand its purpose. Everything has to have a coexistence, guys. And this is all through 1 line setting. All through 1. Number 1. Okay? So we really have to understand how to use a formation line graph, because now your calculation line position is now 5 line settings and 2 track locations, 52 phenomenal location of channels, operation locations. So you get a box line setting and position of triangulation. Okay, so that's a 3 line center. 3 line center. Okay, in position of box to 3 lines instead of locations to a circle location. All right. Center calculation, streamline, set line calculation. Travel communication, triangulation of 3 set line conditions, center operation. 3 line center lines of 6, setting calculation. So when you're doing is setting communication, higher levels, geometry, and line interference of its avatar that's connected at high position. The hydrolysis locations to the hydroponic line calculation setting is ground line in its position of its water. The water containment center line rotation center is setting communication higher levels of security perimeter line rotations to its firewall calculation line interference. Now, this is perimeters over channel operation to its system. Security perimeters and parameters, line calculates lines of balance inside location system to higher calculation line setting of projection to its projection, right? Protecting your line setting, protection, setting nurturing 2 correlations of security, of nurturing, protection, security, and nurturing, okay, are all different line signals and satellite communications. Understanding the grounds and space line conditions. Grounds lines of security and space lines of security. 2 different panels of operation sequence locations. Okay? So when you go through 6 channels over 3, center line communication of 3 channel line interference, position operation signal locations. Center line communication of 4 channels operation line settings and position of 3 set locations, right? Channel line interference, set lines of 6 and rotation center into its dimensional sail, and center line communication of ground operation. Okay? Done by equation. Center communication of pi is recognizing communication. So you get a pi line setting rotation, right? So here in set line conditions is longitude and latitude. Okay? Center line interference is center operation to its surface and location of center. Now the operation surface location travels its line setting. Okay? Center calculations high lines its position location of higher level set rotation. Now, in that calculation line interference, you can set up an I-line circle and center line communication higher levels of travel communication, right? So this recognizes as pi line condition system. So it sets up sonar lines and set location of 3 sets, right? Set locations into 4 sets in position of 6, right? So the center communication line interference is 24 clocking, 48 window, 72 track, 144, line condition of 0 gravity line interference in positions to its dimensional sail that sets a communication setting in set location system. Okay, done by equation, right? You got to learn how to use line calculation setting because you're reaching in mortality. Now in mortality, understand line locations. 114 represents 1 line track, and 4 line signals. Graph line streams. Okay, so what you're doing from 114 is creating a graph and a holograph line communication of travel and set location. Travel line settings and position at all levels. Okay, center calculations, line interference of 12 line signatures locations. Operation surface and location of travel line settings. High calculation line interference of center communication to its position. operation service locations into one 14-line setting, or calculation line interference of another 6-line communication to 3-line center line position of 6 position. So we got two 6-line centers, 2 moonline operation of setting and triangulation. There's dimensional sail. So the reason why I'm saying dimensional sail and all calculation line positions is because you're leaving your portals of calculation of travel. Okay, your center communication is not in center line in position. It's not going to be doing this anymore. It's going to be outline. You're going to be orbits, space odyssey, Millennium static locations. So you're not going to be going through 2-line settings. You're not going to be in this position. You're going to be in that position. So you have to really understand how to set communication in geometry line interference. Triangulation is a 3-set line conditionized system. Triangle positions, right, which is this in line conditions. From that to that, okay? So center communication in the moon, operation line conditions of 6. Center calculations in position of the sun. Sun lines operation locations in position of 3, right? But you need the grounds of operation to travel. So everything through a sail needs a water containment line. Center calculations, water containment system locations. So it travels in space line into its archetype location setting. It rotates its surface extremely fast in set line communication, right? So it's very powerful when you get out of portal sequence, right? Especially when you get into higher calculations of relays or anything through vortex chamber settings. You have to recognize all calculate and modify high signals in set location system, right? So in that line communication line position locations, this holds all levels of your calculations of scales, right? Scale line settings, high interference, 2 scale line positions, and set locations, right? UFO line direct location is channel lines operation to its server locations, process signals, and cross locations, right? So you got the sun line rotation and center line conditions. You got the moon operation and center line communication, right? Fluctuation line interference. Electrical lines, 4-box location of travel, set location of telepathy. Right, some time sequence, open all line conditions of triangulation of 3 set line conditions. There's the dimensional sail. See it? So it's 2-track line setting, sets line position locations into its all set. Okay? So you have to really recognize what you are doing through higher levels of geometry location of frequencies. So you start with this. 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 We start with this. And we start with this. Okay, all through triangulation. Different frequency line settings. Alpha, delta, theta. Omega, high calculation gamma. Sigma line interference is zeta. All different frequency patterns. Okay, all through triangulation. 3, right? 3 lines, 3 lines, 3 lines, 3 lines, 3 lines, 3 lines, 3 lines of north, right? Calculation line interference. Now, center communication of triangulation line center location is 3/4. Now, 3/4 is 3/5. That's 5/pi. The recognition line calculation line stream is really understand how to set position locations of tone measures. When you come into your dimensional sail travel communication, right, you have to understand how to set it up through the sun and its moon operation. So in that calculation line interference, it travels its together set locations, right? But it's not in the tube setting. It's in its outer sphere location of its orbits, which is outer limits, okay? So you guys have to really understand that because now we're coming into 103, which is Fibonacci line. Fibonacci line signals its line communications in 2 line circles in set location. That channels its line strain line interference of security position location of perimeters. Lines its communications in position of double helix in set location setting and track location. Okay? Now that sequences patterns and sets line communications in line center interference and how all calculation settings into the sun and the moon traveling at set location settings in 2 panels. Operation and surface. So you have to really recognize the calculation of what's going on through formation, right? This helps you always informs how to use it through position location of mind through travel. Okay? I really want you to understand this, okay? Because you guys are coming out of portal sequence. Your vortex chamber location is going to be like in a nice setting. So you're going to have an electrical cord that's going to be cut. Okay? No more tether to the earth perception setting. Okay? So you got the earth line. Here's the avatar communications. And this is you guys, immortality. So with communication, that's you, right? But you're going to be in set line connection system, right? That's going to be cut. So when that cuts, What happens? Line calculation setting sets position, location, of track line. It disappears and resets line communication. Okay, so that's what's going to happen. So it cuts the core line. So the Earth and the ether line changes rotation surface. So your Earth starts to rotate center line calculation. In that direct line center line interference comes together in set lines of higher levels of travel communication setting that travels with you through balance. Okay, so you become the center lines of your Earth set location system in track communication. Multipass. So it's interesting when you look at line communications to its settings. You have to understand how to recognize the connections to its setting. Now, the rotation surface really has to understand how to use and always inform. So you got the sun line, you got the moon line, and you got your Earth position, right? So you need the line connections of its ground line, operation surface locations. You can even change your Earth line into a dimensional sail. That's calculated to the moon into the sun of operation. See how it comes into dimensional sail? So the Earth travels its line, center line interference, and travels its communication to a system to anywhere at track location. See the dimensional sail? Right here. Okay? So you got the Earth and the sun and the moon line and triangulation of 3 sets in the ground line. It's travel. So once you become the center line of your Earth, the immortality changes the track line's interference. It changes all frequency patterns. The recognition timeline sets line communication to its program. Now, this center aligns its communications to your chakras. Each chakra basically gets in a rotating router that sets a modification lines of a cellular set lines of a Mach line of acceleration to high setting. This decentralizes and centralizes your communication setting and track communication. Okay? So in that position line interference, you have your Earth, your sun, and your moon traveling all at once in its dimensional sail. Okay? Getting track line interference, you can set up 12 dimensional sails to all your solar systems. You can have 12 solar systems and set lines of your planets in all calculation setting at all position locations of its dimensional sail and set location. Right? So everything comes with you in set locations. Now, this is higher division line settings. Now, it rotates its server location system. So it's a magnetic line setting of a charge that sets line communication to its program locations. But try to understand, when you're looking at line sequence location of patterns, it's really understanding more lines of view through communications, right? So this channels your line setting. Now, because you guys know perimeters and parameters and align to position to your firewalls, the correlation system is 2 panels of operation. Center calculations, trying to find the balanced communication, right? Center lines of operation is server locations in positions to your crop circle location, right? That line's the center changes positions to its ground line operation surface. Now, in that line connections comes into 2 tube line center rotation surface locations, right? This channels lines as travel lines, 3 set line condition height system. Travels here and travels here, crisscross locations, right? Scan lines, 2 FEO line rotations, scans line, center line interference, a crisscross line communication system of balance settings. That way question, all right? So this platitudes is line location of graph line streams. So in that center communication line, you have to understand everything through a teleport. It has a data line position of a port that sets communication setting. Now, this crosses its line signals when it comes into position. Understanding how to use the Earth and your sun and your moon in a triangulation sail is really understand how to use the protocol setting to its location system of a higher levels of dimensional setting. Okay? Hey, you guys are going to higher line condition high setting. You have to really recognize your 3-digit patterns now. Digital code line frequencies. So the 1 line, 0 line, and 2 line unifications. The lines of 0, 0, 0. Position of 4. Line condition high setting. 0 operation to 5. 1 line condition of a 6. And we set a line of 0. 0 crosses line interference. 0, 0. Bracket location of 3. Sets communications into 2. Downshifts location of 1. And 0 of operation surface and set locations. All right. Now, if you understand, anything through operation location has its collaboration location as the operation of its channel. Now, the channel streams its position. Setting calculation line interference, right? Travel calculation setting. So 4 always comes into line interference in a 3 set location into 7. 7 is a digital code line of a code frequency line calculation system. Now, that travel line center lines its operation to its surface location to its dimensional sail. See? Setting calculation of lines, the 0 line crosses center, in 3 set locations. It high channels its operation in a higher calculation line setting in position, right? So this puts you in a hard orbit line kinetic space odyssey, right? So into orbit basically changes communication line settings. This opens all track location in your system. Now in direct signals, really understand how to use modification line settings. One line strip, line position of 0 operation is ground lines, operation of service, right? Center calculation line, position location to its energetic dome. Setting correlations of balance of center line communication. Center lines a high line interference of magnetic high wave formation line connections, right? This travels line center location to higher dome calculation, right? So setting that position location is really understand how to balance these things out, right? So this where it comes into this line is a high rotation interference, disassociation location, and high set location, okay? So getting that ground lines operation of service is understand how to balance out the magnetic lines of position. Getting calculating line in rotation position of galaxy line shift line sets lines position location of 2 panels operation line positions all over the calculation. Travels its line signature location of patterns and operation surface. Okay. So I just want you guys to recognize higher calculation lines of portals because the portals travel higher in acceleration line setting, but you have to really recognize the galaxy shift lines because the galaxy is going so fast now. The higher you go, the more it gets higher levels of speed line. Calculation line interference. Let's say you get a torical field line, rotation surface is a location system. Travels line center line interference and travel communication setting. All right. Now, the direction line calculation of the clock line is a 24 line signature location, position locations. All right. So line calculation line interference, 24, 24 lines of 48. That's 48 line equal locations into 1,000 line setting and set locations. All right. So that's one line in position of 0 operation and 0 calculations in a 0 ground setting. Graph line string 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right? Tunnel defense line 0 line rotation surface and set location system and track line. Sending that communication line interference. So the travel communication line center, once you set up the 0 operation to a set location system, all plotted line interference is zeros and calculations all lines of O1 positions, travels its higher calculation galaxy lines. Pixelation lines is string line position locations, putting 0 lines operation surface location of travel. See all the zeros? Now the zeros go through the lines of tunnel, sets lines of communication in the center line calculation system. Right? So that's really understanding a set of colossal channel lines and galaxy line shift lines. It's a rotation surface location positions. Sun line interference, sun's always in position of operation, and the moon's always in operation set locations. So it's always line. Strip line right through set line communication and triangulation of 3 set line conditions of travel. Okay? So we all have to recognize how to formulate its position. Getting into that formation line settings lines is strip. Now the film strip line calculation system opens all signals. Calculation line interference, higher travel communication, and position of its sun of operation. See? So I think it's very powerful when you guys really understand line settings. It's so important when you go through portal communications, all right? Channel operation lines have vortex stream locations and chambers. Now, chamber sets line calculation line interference, intermagnetic high wave formation line setting, indirect location system, right? Channel line, 3 electrical line conditions, right? And center line communication position. Center calculation line interference in 0 operation to its surface, right? So you stand on the plateau in center location setting, waiting for higher levels of travel communication. You're in the center line. Center calculation line interference. You scan positions up and line center location across and say line interference and set location in pi and set line communication setting and another energetic dome line and string lines and 3 set location system and track communication. All right. Now, directing signals and line interference is really recognize the communication system. Ground lines operation to its surface, sets line conditions to its flux capacitor, to its laser line communication in its flux line setting. Fluctuation to its position location of travel in set locations, right? So we all have to understand what mechanism line set location of travel means to the observation locations into high set locations, right? This center line is energy dome line rotation and the surface locations. And we understand the travel lines, right? High calculation comes back in center. travels communication in position location to all lines to its hanger, right? Travel calculates line interference, travels its communication setting and direct signal. Now, setting line in direct locations opens up its channel. Channel communication in lines its platitude line connection to its ground lines. This credits its line center location and travel position of higher levels of high calculation. Now, in direct line center line interference, we have UFO line, sun line rotation interference comes out line connection of the moon. Moon operates line connection, another UFO comes out set location system. Now, the travel line communication line in rotation, sun lines that opens all signals locations at high center to its moon, operates its signal in set location system of higher levels of travel in set location. So you have to really understand how to use the connections of sectors, vectors, and quads. Quad line communication to its hanger. Setting direct line signal locations and hanger line settings and direct locations to its bracket set location. All right? Or you can do this in set location system. Or you can do this through set location. Or you can do this at set location. Everything is communication, right? Travel line settings. So let's set up a 4-spot channel, okay, 2 brackets and 2 hangers, all right? Center calculations into a back force line communication, right? Center communication, right? Center lines on high interference is center communications and position unification. See the U? Communication line centers of C, calculation to its setting, all travel communications. That's travel, right there. That's coordinates and set locations, all right? Planet line interference is coming from all calculation setting and position of Jupiter. Here's Jupiter. Setting calculation, setting calculation, setting calculation, setting calculation, setting calculation, setting calculation, setting calculation. There you go. Done. Now, everything has to come through channel operation line settings, right? Mechanism line, connection line, center line interference comes position locations of pi. Ooh, look at that. Comes line calculation line interference locations into pi, into dimensional sail of 0 operation set location. See the dimensional sail? See how you set up communication settings all through Jupiter? So if you really understand how to use tunnel defense lines, you have to understand how to use the mecha location settings to its dimensional sail location. Okay? Echo chambers and sonar, yeah. Tunnels of streams, yep. When sailing line connection line centers, the Jupiter line interference and position locations into the line connection line system, into panels and line calculation line interference, into hangers, into bracket location system. All done through equation coming from Jupiter line setting through its dimensional sail. Okay? Everything has to have a dimensional sail. So in line communication, it's you traveling through its setting. Okay? I'm showing you what you need to understand because it's all position locations of you. You got your alignment settings of balance. Now you got to get out of the portal communication. Get out of these. You got to get out of the realms. You got to get out of the circle line communication of center. This is you now instead of location of travel by itself in line connections and position. All right. Step by step. So once you understand that, then we can work on to higher calculation line settings to your track locations because the subtronic line interference is changing the track lines. So you got 1 line center line interference of 0 operation to 2 line condition line setting, waiting on signal at the top, right? So you bracket the communications in position of box and position of triangulation. 3 set line setting, okay? Setting communication to its pyramid line and 4 track line communication, right? That center line's its center line operation to its surface, waiting on signal location of its own command setting. Okay, setting that communication, the pyramid comes into cross line signals in set location system, right? So you have to understand and recognize line calculation. Setting calculation line interference sets communication to what? Its dimensional sail of its ground set location. Everything is a dimensional sail, guys. Okay, so once you understand how this works, it always informs your freedom and your sovereignty to travel. Okay, through its dimensional sail of 102 set locations. Waiting on signal to line calculations and bracket line connections of 103 in track location. So that's what it is. It's a waiting line, setting line interference of a 24-line stream in set location system, right? Because you live in a 24-hour line setting in set location system. or you can have a 48 window, or you can have a 782 line setting, or you can have a 144 set to another crystal grid line rotation set locations. Once you get into 144, your higher position location of travels, but you set up plateaus. Okay, it comes plateaus of stairs and set location of travel and set location system, higher levels of mechanism, high setting. Okay. So the 144 is a cross signal, ascending communications, right? 144 line setting, equal line calculations of travel, plateau, position of plateau, position locations, walking surface. Okay. Now, if you understand that line interference, you understand the planet communication setting that center lines its center line in its position of space. So 4 planet line rotation, position, location, triangulation. Okay. So 4 planets, line calculation setting. So you can have the sun line, you can have the moon, you can have Jupiter, and you can have Pluto in set location. Right? So they're all communicating with each other through the center lines of 3, which is the operation of its sun, of its communication setting. If you look really, really close, you can see the dimensional sail. Okay? Dimensional sail right here in set locations. Done by equation. Okay? That's how you planet surface line calculation line interference to all set the location system in travel positions. Okay? So we really have to understand how to use line settings, because you guys are now coming into 555, which is activating line interference, waiting on same locations into its running program. The initiation program lines of its compute line rotation interference is changing your location system, waiting on signal to 644 clock locations for travel, right? That's 644,000 line settings, set lines, and highest center line interference at 1 minute per second per channel per stream, 60 minutes and 1 hour line signal of 24 line calculation. Because that's what you're living on, line communication left and right, and line communication of 24 grounds, a set location system, right? So we all have to understand how this works through higher levels of provision locations of intelligence settings, all through plateau calculations at 144. Okay? So, we're all confused now, aren't we? So confusion is good. Confusion is a way to say, hey, understanding but not understood, which means it's not understanding of it's not being understood. So getting that calculation line, center line interference is truly understand how to set up all communications to its dimensional sail. You see it all the time. You look at the moon. Setting communication line stream location, this is you in set locations. Looking at scan line settings. Ooh, but the sun and the moon are traveling together in set locations. Okay. Ooh, solar graph. Solar graph. Solar graph. Sun and the moon is always traveling. Always, always traveling. Always, always traveling. Never separated. You understand? Okay. So it's free to do whatever it wants to all make this line calculation of travel through Galaxy's application system. Beyond the recognition of line calculation, space, time through travel. Okay? But that's exactly what it is in set location settings. The sun and the moon always travel through set communications, and it's always creating its dimensional sail of higher levels of GOD. The geometric operation of design of its own construct is its calculations to its engineer line setting of its construct location to its makeup of set location. Okay? So it's very powerful when we set lines that to communication settings and track location. All right. Let's see where we are here. Listening today, great. Opening lines, good. Relay setting verified. You see it now, right? You understand the process, how this works now? So you're taking off the line communication settings. This is line communication of you, the sun line communication system. Line in rotation, the position locations, highest center interference. There's the bike. Setting calculation line interference. You're losing this, and you're coming into this. Okay? You're getting off the tricycle. You're learn how to ride a bike. Travel communications, and you're coming into line and center line in position in one central line communication. Coming to line interference, higher travel communication in line and positions to its dimensional sail and set location. Okay? So, You all have to understand how to process everything that's going on now, right? Coming into understanding, yeah. Inner knowing, inner line, inner calculations, inner form. Always find a way to mind frame your line settings. Really understand how to change the adaptation of sequence, location, and frequencies. When you connect inside more, you come to a deeper core level over time. You always have the expansion of space over time. Everything is over time. Okay. That's the calculation when it comes into time lines, time locks, time frequency, time calculations, time sequence. Line connecting is extremely powerful when you come to calculations of telepathy or anything through telekinesis location system. But this is exactly what's happening in your settings. Okay, you're coming out of portal sequence. So I think it's incredible, really is. Because waiting on signal line communication, you guys are going to be in line, center line interference locations of 103. The one line of zero operation at 3 set locations, 103, right? Zero operational line, setting line, position location, high setting. Travel communication to its dimensional sail of its sun in position location of its moon. See? Dimensional sail. See? So you got the line condition of the sun in position of the moon. Center calculations of line interference. Half pipe calculation lines of 6. 3 line center line interference. Sun comes in rotation, surface, set location, system, and direction. Multipath. Now you use the number sequence location and line set as a triangulation of 3 sets. Calculation line interference of 3 set location system. This is a timestamp. See the timestamp? Blocks its center line interference of travel communication to reception line set locations. Higher levels line center locations of its dimensional sail to a kite. See, it's a kite. Center calculation, there it is. There's the calculation of its kite. See, it travel. See? Done. So we really understand. Look at my hair. It has its own dimensional sail. See? Wind factor line calculation streamlines, direction of timeline sequence locations. Sun lines high interference, moon line rotation, center line rotation calculations into wind sprinkler line calculation. That's my hair is calculation streamline. It looks like a sprinkler. See? Line connecting is extremely important when it comes into individual locations into all calculation. How to use the modification of the line settings of communication is a line connecting to all set lines of data stream settings, right? To its dimensional sail. So everything has to have a ground, everything has to have power, and everything has to have a set location. Setting lines and settings, right? Now you understand why the moon is like that, right? Because it starts with this line communications, right? We start with this, we start with this, we start with this first. And then we come into this. And then we come into this. And then we come into this. Frequency change. Beta. Okay. Theta. That's that line connection I delta. Delta. Omega. Okay. Now, once you understand that, then you understand how to use the line, center line, ground lines as zero line position location of the foundations. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's go through 7 bodies of water. 0 line rotation, 1 line position, 2 track line conditions on level security, 3 lines of Fibonacci, 4 lines solar, 5 in heart line, 6 in throat, and 7 locations in body location settings. Now, if you look really, really close, you can see the dimensional sail. Look. There it is, dimensional sail. Everything is a dimensional sail travel. Everything, all through graph lines. Hologram line stream, energetic dome line stream location. See? Everything is a graph. So once you understand that, then you can change the waveline center line connections to its dimensional sail to higher track communication setting. Travel communications crosses line setting in position of the sun and the moon crossing each other. Cross line interference in position location, highest in line positions to its together line communication and travel positions of balance in set locations. Right? So we all have to understand more levels than what we're doing through set line communications. Right? It's all levels of communications. Your full alignments is everything through your chakra line setting. especially when you're reaching higher of calculation. Travel recognition line interference location is all generation line streams. Now you got 24 line sending line interference, frequency pattern communication sending locations, 24 frequencies, 24 grounds, 24 operations. You can have 24 windows line connection settings once you understand the 48 window. Because if you don't understand the 48 window, you can't go through a 24 window. You understand? So in that line communications, you have to understand your ground lines of 0 of operation to 12. Multipass. That's a foundation that sets line communication and travels. 12 always stays in the center lines of position. Give you guys an example. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 set location. 12 is always there. 24 is here, right? Getting calculations in the lines of 1 equals the lines of 13 set locations. 1 equals 13, right? Woo! 13 line center line condition is 1000 line setting in position of PM, all right? Woo! So that's 1000 hours line interference, perception location, and metric string location settings, right? All right, so 24 line center line interference sets position locations, all setting. So we put 48 in the center communication. Ooh, so we got the window line, right? 48 travels line center line condition of both line signature locations of the sun and position of the moon's location. Now, indirect line center, you have the 0 line rotation surface locations. Always have to have the grounds. Now, the setting line communication comes into pi. Directional timeline sets line position location. So 40 channels up in 8 line settings, and 72 comes in position, right? Setting calculation line interference. So 72 computer line rotation surface set location system. See the computer? Whoa, solar graph line. Setting calculation line interference, a high travel communication setting, and Windows and position location high system. There's the computer. The center line and line rotation interference sets line position location. 72 comes in at 144, sets communication, ground lines, 0 operational line settings, platitudes, locations, and set locations. Now it opens all channels to travel. Plateau, 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 plateau locations, and set line condition, right? So it's important to understand how to ground lines, a holographic line, send location, when to positions. So once you get into 24, 48, 72, and 144, you now can go in communication of fluctuation up and down, up and down, up and down through communications. Three-dimensional lines, in-line interference, higher level telelocation system, or anything to track communication of balance. But you have to really recognize the communications first in a correlation system to its coexistence of its identification of its purpose, of why it's here in travel location. Okay? I just showed you how to go through clock lines in position. Always have the 12 lines and inside line. Okay? So whole idea here is to get the 24, 48, 72, and 144 in a signal line communication going faster, 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 faster in set line conditions. And once it goes faster, it travels line send line interference to its own dimensional sail of set location system. See the dimensional sail? So you got the sun and the moon and your Earth traveling all at once in triangulation of 3 set locations, right? Multipass. So, so I know it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. But now you're understanding the connectionized system, right? 1 + 1 = 3. 3 line center locations, 2 is 5 line connectionized system. 1 + 1 = 5, not 3. The center communication is 5 across the table, which is balance of everything through frequency location settings. Okay. You have to recognize the communication of what is masculinity to femininity to your sun, masculinity to femininity to your moon, and set location in the line settings. You are calculating line interference when it comes into all position locations, especially when you come to implication line, center location, geometry line interference of its direct location of its design to its division location of its dimension. You have to really recognize the communications when it comes to higher levels of travel and set line conditions to its set positions of its dimensional setup. Through your sun, through your moon, and through your Earth. So 1 + 1 = Earth. Whoa! So you become the Earth operation of center in all modification. Calculate modification line interference. Center line communication, everything for line condition settings in process of yin and yang process locations. Okay? So there's a lot going on, right, to that line setting. Hair looks like a sprinkler. All right. Setting that communications and position line setting. All right, so we got a line interference location alarm, offline position. That's quick and easy line interference. I communicate with the ground lines, change the rotors, router line interference to the engine of communication. Calculation alarms. The alarm is gone. It's off, right? Full calculation modification is inside position of your lines. Truly extend the track communication to your system locations. Everything is set communication inside of you of correlation. Balance calculations of collaboration. Coexistence, identification, purpose, and purification. Center operation. 1 + 1 equals Earth. Multi-pass. Now you understand the process of all communications. You are the center of your own universe line setting, which is your Earth location. Ooh-ah. Okay? Taking track lines, high interference, high track line positions, put it back and measure. All right, you guys are back. High position line interference. So in that calculation modification line settings, you guys are going to have questions or comments, obviously. This will be a very powerful class, line conditionized system. Tracking line communication settings, getting you guys ready. Line interference, again, position locations, 1 line, 0 operation of 3, and Fibonacci sequence. All right? See you soon. Adios.